everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar, From Start to Finish, How to Implement Lead-to-Account Matching in Salesforce. My name is Mike Nato, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We've got a great presentation lined up, and we're excited to get started here. Before I hand the mic over to today's presenter, I do just want to address a few housekeeping items. First, I just want to thank everyone for joining us, with everything that's going on in the world right now. Obviously, COVID-19 is having a massive impact on people's lives, both personally and professionally. So we hope everyone's doing okay out there. Please stay safe, adhere to the guidelines wherever you are, wash your hands, and let's do the best we can to just push through this all together. So with that said, just a few items to cover related to the webinar. So today's webinar is being recorded. We'll follow up with you all after the presentation with a link to the recording. Next, we want to make this as interactive as possible. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions panel on the GoToWebinar console. We'll be monitoring questions, and if topical, I'll pose them right away to our presenter. We'll also set aside 15 minutes at the end of the presentation for a live Q&A. And finally, please give us feedback. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We'd certainly love to hear from you all. So with that said, I'd like to now pass the mic over to today's presenter, Andrew Nato, founder of Align.ly. Andrew, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. So let me just quickly tell you a little bit about Align.ly. So we were founded in January of 2017. So we've been around for a little over 3 years. We are a remote company. So like a lot of companies right now that are remote, not by choice, we actually started 100% remote. It's a little unique about us. I'm based in Massachusetts and Mike is down in Rhode Island. And we are self-funded. So we haven't taken any VC money yet, which means we're profitable because of our consulting business, which is how we ended up building the 2 products that we do have. And this affords us the ability to just focus on our customers. We don't have to worry about raising money, especially in times like these. And we have 2 products on the Salesforce App Exchange. The product we'll be talking about today, which is Align.ly Lead-to-Account. And we have another product that's called Align.ly Attribution, which does multi-touch attribution using Salesforce campaigns. So here's just a sampling of some of our customers. Common thread here is we typically work with B2B companies. A lot of them are tech, a lot of them are VC backed, and most of them are sub 1,000 employees, which is really where we focus as a business. So let's talk about the problem with lead-to-account matching. We all know that the lead-to-contact divide in Salesforce causes all sorts of problems. First one is just around lead nurturing. Common example or common problem is new lead comes into your database. It's in your database as a lead, and it might be an open opportunity. It might be a customer, and because you're not matching it to an account, no way of knowing the status of that lead. So the problem there is you might drop them into your prospect nurture campaign, and you're kind of nurturing them the wrong way. Whereas if they were a customer, you might drop them into a separate nurture campaign, maybe pushing certification, maybe educating them how to get the most out of your product. So without lead-to-account matching, you really miss opportunities on nurturing people the right way, and you also might actually hurt your brand. The next is around routing leads. So again, common example, new lead comes in, it's a customer, it goes to your BDR or SDR team. They don't check to see if they're already a customer because it costs them time. So what they end up doing is they give them a call, then they have this embarrassing conversation where the person on the other end of the phone says, "Hey, I'm actually a customer of yours. It looks bad for the company," and it kind of just hurts your overall reputation. At the same time, just wasting time for your BDR where they could have been prospecting net new business for you. Next is executing account-based sales. So in a lead-based world, if that's where your SDRs and BDRs and inside sales team is living, it's really difficult to get a holistic view of what's going on in an account, especially if marketing's doing a good job and getting multiple people in that account to engage. Most likely, your sales team isn't going to connect the dots on that if you're living in a lead world. So what that means is your sales team will end up single-threaded selling into accounts, which we all know is not a good idea. Ideally, they'll be multi-threaded selling, which means that they're prospecting into multiple people. And ideally, they easily have that intelligence on who's previously engaged, who's previously had conversations with sales, what were those conversations. That way, they're not just going in cold to those conversations, but they have a warm way of introducing themselves. And as a company, you look like you're on top of your game. Same is true with account-based marketing. So, classic example again is, being able to properly segment your database, but going beyond lead nurturing. There's a lot of technology around there to help you with ABM. So doing things like retargeting, retargeting the right people in the right accounts, doing things around account-based ads. This is all really important. It's really important that you are able to slice and dice and segment your lists in your marketing automation tool so that you can properly do ABM. The other thing that kind of gets lost if you're not doing LeadtoAccount Matching is your marketing metrics. Great example is new lead comes in, you might tag it as a net new marketing qualified lead, but then later find out that there's actually already an open opportunity there, or they're already a customer, or maybe they're a partner, and you're counting it as an MQL. So one, you're overinflating your marketing metrics, which when sales goes and looks at your MQLs and they start to realize that, hey, these aren't super accurate, trust with the marketing department can wane. The other kind of challenge there or issue is around accurately measuring your conversion rates. So if you're counting these that aren't truly MQLs, they're actually never going to convert. So you're actually hurting your overall conversion rates. So your conversion rates are going to look lower than what you think they might be, which ends up hurting marketing because they think they need to generate more MQLs than they actually really need to. So important to get LeadtoAccount Matching in place. That way you can accurately measure your marketing department. And BDRs, SDRs, AEs, we talked about this a little bit. They're going to lose productivity. New lead comes in. If they're spending time to validate that they're not already an open opportunity, or they're not already a customer, they're not already a partner, they're just wasting time, or they're not going to do it. And the other thing that might happen is they might drop something into a sequence. Again, that might be an open opportunity. Now they're actually putting time and effort into calling and emailing somebody that will most likely not add any value to your business. So really important to only have your team focused on the leads that you can convert to net new pipeline, net new business. And LeadtoAccount Matching is going to help you accomplish that. And then the final one is around enriching your leads with things like account data with the number of employees, the industry, headquarters, all that type of information. Typically don't want to ask that on your forms. We want to keep our forms as short as possible. We all know that the more fields we ask, our conversion rates go down. So you either need to introduce third-party technology to do the enrichment on the lead if you're not using LeadtoAccount Matching, or LeadtoAccount Matching can be implemented. When a lead does match an account, we can pull in those fields from the account. And then all we have to do is make sure that we have the right data at the account level, which is much easier to manage. And we know we always have the right source of truth for our data at the account level. So with that, kind of what are our core beliefs as a company when implementing LeadtoAccount Matching? We believe that every company, every B2B company should be implementing LeadtoAccount Matching. We feel that this isn't the case today. There's a lot of companies we talk to that don't have anything in place, and they feel like their database is just becoming out of control. So, and when you kind of talk to different customers, the issue around that is typically around price or time, or they just hasn't hit the priority list to actually go implement something. So our mission as a company is to get LeadtoAccount Matching in the hands of every B2B company. We also feel like it shouldn't be this daunting, big task. And that's what we're going to kind of demo and discuss today. A lot of people think that it's going to be this big, expensive project. It's going to take 3 to 6 months to go implement. That's not the case, and we can show you that. And then also, we don't want you to break the piggy bank. You shouldn't have to go spend $25,000, $30,000 on a solution, especially for a back office solution, when that $25,000, $30,000 could be spent on lead generation. So our solution, we wanted to make it really simple, $99 a month. You can get up and running in a day, right? That's the whole idea with what we're trying to do with Align.ly LeadtoAccount. So I mentioned this briefly before, but where we feel in the market right now is the larger companies that have the budget, they're being served well. They all have LeadtoAccount Matching. They're spending money on enterprise grade solutions. Where the market and where the kind of gap in the market is that's SMB mid-market B2B companies, less than 1,000 employees. And again, they just don't have the time or the money to spend on implementing a solution. So really where Align.ly fits is we think we could serve that market really well with our solution. And again, $99 a month, really easy to implement and really easy to administer and manage. So when you think about evaluating a solution, what should you really be looking for? Number one should really be a native Salesforce solution. And this is for a few different reasons. There are LeadtoAccount Matching solutions out there that will send an API call to a third-party database and then try to match and then send that data back to Salesforce. Obviously, you're using API calls and there are GDPR concerns and there might be delays. So getting something that's native Salesforce, really important here. Is your matching actually real time? A lot of vendors will say it's real time, but when you actually do the testing, especially as your data grows, you'll find that there's 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute delays, which is going to impact the time that your sales team can actually go engage a net new lead. And we all know that those initial minutes are critical to get somebody on the phone, get somebody engaged, and turning that into a meeting and an opportunity. Next is support for multiple domains. So if matching is being done on domains, which most solutions are, you don't want to rely on just one email domain. We all know that a lot of companies have multiple email domains. And a red flag here is if the solution you're evaluating is using like the website field, you're only allowed one website, right? So you're gonna be limited on what can match, and the number of leads that actually match to accounts is going to be low. Next thing on that same topic is on the account, are those email domains automatically being updated on the solution you implement? You don't want to have to implement a third-party solution like Clearbit to do the enrichment and populate an email domains field or a website field. You want a solution that's going to be smart. It's going to use machine learning to automatically add those email domains and get smarter over time. Number 5 is matching your existing leads. So you might already have 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 leads in your database. Can the solution you implement retroactively go through all those existing leads and match them? Really important. A lot of solutions will only look forward. Is there a related list of matched leads on the account? So you want your sales team and marketing team to be able to look at an account in Salesforce, see all of your contacts, and then right below that, see all of your matched leads. Really important for executing account-based sales. Custom matching criteria. So you might run into situations where you've got multiple accounts with the same email domain, but in different geographic regions. So how do you deal with those situations? Can you implement custom matching criteria? Lead routing. So super important to getting your leads to the right reps. You want to be able to, if a lead matches an account, you want to be able to properly route that lead to the account owner. So update the lead owner to the account owner on a matched lead. Critical for properly executing account-based sales. On that same topic, you want to be able to integrate with your existing lead assignment rules inside of Salesforce. You probably already have lead assignment rules implemented, and you want something that's going to easily snap in place. And then finally, we've been talking about LeadtoAccount Matching, but you might also want to have the option to convert your matched leads into your accounts. Obviously, you want to make sure they're validated before you convert them. But a lot of our customers will implement a hybrid solution, so they might only convert leads that match customer accounts, or maybe only convert leads that match partner accounts. That way their database is staying clean over time, and you can really have a clean, differentiated database between your leads and your contacts. So with that, I want to jump into Salesforce. I want to go through the entire process of implementing Lead-to-Account Matching from start to finish. I'm actually going to go to the App Exchange, install the app, walk you through that entire process, so you can see from soup to nuts how this works, and that it's not this big, daunting, scary process. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Salesforce. And the first thing I'm going to do is just go over to the App Exchange. And once you're in the App Exchange, if you just search Align.ly, you will see our listing come right up, Lead-to-Account Matching and Auto Convert. You can go ahead and hit Get It Now, log into your Salesforce account. Wait for all the Salesforce redirects to happen. So now I'm going to go ahead and install in production. And it's just going to ask for my lead information. I'm going to agree to the terms and just hit confirm and install. And we'll just log in one more time. So by default, it's going to ask to install for all users. That's what you're going to want to use. So let's go ahead and hit install. So while that is installing, and we'll give it a minute, I just want to quickly show you our documentation. So if you go to help.Alignly, you can also get to this from our homepage. And you go to, you'll see that all of our documentation for Align.ly Lead-to-Account is right here. These getting started help articles, this will walk you through exactly what I'm going to walk through today. It'll walk you through detailed documentation with videos. So you can either watch this recording or you can actually go here and walk through this if you want to install on your own. So it looks like it's done. So let's go ahead and hit done. So now that that's done, there's a little bit of configuration, and we've got the package installed right here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to my sales view. First thing I'm going to do is just add the Align Lead-to-Account tab. So let's just go ahead and add that. And we'll put it right before the attribution product. And now I'm just going to go quickly update some page layouts. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the object manager. I'm going to go to account, and I'm going to go to page layouts. And so on account, we can add the related list of our match leads. This is what I was discussing earlier. And I just want to, so this is just a standard related list in Salesforce. So we can add whatever fields we want from lead into this view. So some customers will put in like the number of marketing engagements, the number of sales conversations. So that way rep can easily look at it and see where there have been previous conversations. I'm just going to bring in email, and I'll bring in the job title as well. And then next on the layout here, I have a section already created for Align Lead-to-Account. If you don't know how to do that, you just hit fields and just drag in the section. And I want to add a couple fields. I want to add our geography match. That's for doing advanced matching using geography fields. We want to add lock account, and I'll explain that in a bit. And then we also want to add our email domains. And that's going to be a field that automatically gets updated by Align.ly. So let's go ahead and hit save. And then in the object manager, let's go to contact. We're going to add just one field to the page layout here. So the one we want to add is called lock contact. And that's just an overwrite field. And finally, let's go to lead. And on lead, we're going to add our matched account. And we're going to add lock lead. All right, so that's it from a back-end configuration standpoint. So let's go ahead and go to the Align.ly management console. And so this is the view or the UI for the product. I'll just quickly walk you through what you're looking at here. So these are your default settings. We turn off most of the settings. That way you can kind of roll it out in a phased approach. I'll walk through that right now. Here, run the Align.ly jobs in order. What this does is if you click this button, you can manually run your jobs to update your database. The first one we'll run is updating the email domains on the account. And then we'll attempt to match all of your leads to accounts. And then optionally, if you have it turned on, we'll then convert those matched leads to contacts. So we have those two settings turned on by default when you first install the app. This middle section is if you want to just run those same jobs one-off. Again, we have 2 and 3 turned off. And then finally, you also have the option to schedule this to run. Typically, we recommend you schedule it to run in the morning hours, so 2 a.m. That way, your sales team isn't actively in Salesforce and things are getting updated on them or conflicting with any changes they're making to records in Salesforce. So right now we have all of our scheduled jobs turned off, and I'll show you in a little bit where you can turn those on. So the other thing, just want to quickly point out, if I go to reports, part of the Align.ly managed package, there's a folder called Align.ly LeadtoAccount, and there are 2 reports in here. So accounts with email domains, this is what we're going to focus on first. I haven't run anything yet, so there should be 0 records in this report. But let's go over to the UI and let's update the email domains on the account. So again, I can run it in order or I can do the one-off. I'll just click the one-off for now. So down here, you'll see the status. The job is currently in holding and it's already completed. So if I go over to my report, I refresh it. So this is an account report. So we have 533 accounts where we've been able to successfully summarize up the email domains onto the account. So the way we do this is for each account, we scan the contacts on the account, look for unique email domains. Any unique email domains we find, we summarize up into the email domains field. We have an email domain exclusion list. That's for your personal email domains, so your Gmails, your Yahoos. We want to keep those from being summarized. When you initially install the app, we populate a list of like 250 personal email domains that we've come across. And I'll show you where you can edit that list in a second. So the hardest part or the most time-consuming part about implementing LeadtoAccount Matching is most likely you have dirty data in your Salesforce instance. And you're probably going to need to scan through this list and make sure that everything kind of looks right and sales reps haven't added the wrong contacts to the wrong accounts. So a little bit of a cleanup process. And you'll see that here in our data, right? So we've got AbbVie account and we have an Abbott email domain on there, which isn't right. So a few different ways you can solve this. If I click into the AbbVie account, what I'll notice if I scroll on the contacts is I've got my AbbVie contacts, and then if I view all here, you'll see here's the Abbott contacts, which is on the wrong account. I can clean this up by taking Bob and moving Bob to the AbbVie account, so then next time Align.ly runs, the email domains will be right on this account. I can also click into Bob and I can lock his contact record. Essentially what that does is it'll ignore this. It'll ignore summarizing up his email domain. So in this case, let's just go ahead and do that. So now the next time Align.ly runs, this contact record will be ignored and we shouldn't see Abbott be summarized up. A couple other options. We could add Abbott to the email domain exclusion list. Not recommended here because Abbott's actually a legitimate end user prospect account. And then the other option we would have is you can also do a manual override. So I could just update this email domains field, remove Abbott, and then I can lock the account. And essentially what that does is it freezes the values in the email domains field. Not recommended here as well, but this is typically used if you do a mass import of accounts and you don't have any contacts for those accounts. So you can manually set the email domain yourself. Usually our customers will do this if they pull a list from ZoomInfo or Discover.org or LinkedIn or something like that, and they want to do a massive import of all their accounts in their total addressable market. So I will just cancel out of this. I go back to this report, you're going to also notice here that I've got Align.ly. So I have an internal employee attached to the a Biomed account. So what I can do here and kind of best practice is actually take the Align.ly email domain and let's just go put that in the email domain exclusion list. So I'm going to go to Setup, Custom Settings. And I'm going to go to my email domain exclusion list. And you'll see all of the email domains that are pre-populated on install. So you don't need to manage this from scratch. Let's just go ahead and hit New, and we'll drop in Align.ly. So you can see that's kind of how you would go through this list and kind of clean things up. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to be worth it tenfold in the end. So let's go ahead and go back to our management console here, and let's just run the update again. And if I just refresh this, so now we see that things are cleaned up. Align.ly's been removed, Abbott's been removed, and our list is looking good. So, all right, we're ready for the next step. We've got all of our email domains cleaned up. Now the next step is let's go run the matching against our accounts. So I'm going to go back into my custom settings. And next to Align.ly LeadtoAccount settings, I'm going to hit Manage. And here are all the back-end settings. So I'll just quickly walk you through these. These account fields, this is for our geography match feature. I'll explain that in a little bit, but this is where you can use any address field. This is simply the API name. By default, we're going to use billing address fields on account. But again, you can update this if to any field that you would like. Account owner API name, this is for our lead routing. So the default here is going to be if set lead owner to account owner or set contact owner to account owner is checked, we will automatically update the lead owner to the account owner or whatever user ID field you set here. So if you wanted to use another field on the account, for example, you might use something called like inside sales owner, and you route to the inside sales owner always, whereas the account might be owned by your field sales owner. These batch scope sizes, so we use Salesforce batch jobs to update the records. The default is 200. You're typically not gonna have to change this at all, so just keep the defaults. Converted status, this is if you do have auto conversion turned on. You probably know when you convert a lead manually, you need to set a status in that conversion process. Since we're doing it automatically, you need to tell us what value you want to use. We have a help article on how to set that up. I won't go into detail in this demo around that. Just like your account fields, here are your lead fields for geography match. And again, the default values are just going to be your standard address fields on lead, but you can use any field that you want. And then just go down to these checkboxes. You're going to notice that there's the on-demand, which are the button clicks in the UI. And there's the 3 jobs that I talked about. So there's updating the email domains, there's matching leads to accounts, and then there's auto conversion. Be very careful with the auto conversion. That's the one thing in Align lead to account that you can't back out of, or you can't easily recover from. We all know that if you can convert a lead to a contact, you can't undo that process. So be very careful of not turning that on accidentally. So what we want to do here is we want to turn on our lead to account matching, the on demand. And while I'm here, I'll also just turn on the real time, since that's going to be the next step. So what this does is, if turned on, any net new leads will attempt to match in real time to accounts. The next 3 options are your scheduled. So again, you have granular control over what happens when things are scheduled to run. I'll leave all those off for now. We'll talk about scheduling in a little bit. And then again, setting lead owner to account owner. This would be on the lead to account matching. And then set contact owner to account owner. This would be on conversion. You have conversion turned on. So I will turn on the routing right now as well. So let's go ahead and hit save. And if I go back to my UI, you're going to see that updates automatically. And now if I run the jobs in order, I'll update the email domains, and then I'll attempt to match all of my leads to accounts. I also now have the option to match leads to accounts. So let's just go ahead and, to save time, let's just do the manual job of matching leads to accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. And then if we go back to our reports, I go back to my folder. What you'll see here is there's a report called Unconverted Leads with Matched Accounts. This would have been blank before I just ran it, but we've been able to successfully match 407 leads to accounts. So that's great. Let's just go ahead and edit this. I just want to bring in one field. I want to bring in matched account. And let's just compare this to the company account name. So let's save that, and then let's just run it. So now that I brought in matched account, you can see how this all lines up. So we've done an exceptional job here of matching leads to the right accounts. If I go click on like Aflac, what you'll notice, I've got my 3 contacts, and then I've got my 1 matched lead. And again, you can bring in any fields in here that you want. And if I scroll down here, I also have this view. And obviously you can change the layout of this page however you see fit and however you want your team to work. So we have our list of match leads. So that's all working great. So let's actually go create a lead in real time. So if I go to, let's just create a lead for Aflac. So if I go to leads, in the previous step, I did turn on lead to account matching. Let's actually create one for, let's use Abbott. I'll just type that in. So let's say new lead. So I'm going to say AA. Actually, let's do BB since I already had one that was AA. BB at abbott.com. Let's hope I spelled that right. Let's go ahead and hit save. So what you're going to see, again, pretty much real time, is we were able to match this lead to the Abbott Laboratories account. And again, if I click into this, you'll now see my match leads, and here's the BB lead I just created. Going back to that lead, a couple things here. I own the Abbott lead in Salesforce. If my colleague Michael had owned the account, the lead owner would have updated to Michael. So that's how the routing would work, and I'll explain a little bit more about how that works in a second. The other thing here is this is just a standard lookup field to account. So what that means is we can add any custom fields to lead that are formula fields, and we can now pull in any fields from account that we want to onto the lead record. So things that are kind of common are things like industry, number of employees, the account owner, headquarters, all that type of stuff. And I won't get into detail on how to do that here. We have a help article that outlines how to do that. So we've got the lead to account matching all working. We've got real-time set up. Let's just quickly talk about scheduling. So if I go into setup, if I go to my custom settings, again, I have granular control over how things are scheduled. So the common things that turn on are scheduling, updating email domains, and then scheduling Lead-to-Account Matching. So let's just turn those two features on. Let's hit save. So now if I go back to my UI, you're going to see that these are turned on here. But how do we actually go schedule this to run? So if I go into setup again, if I go to Apex classes, I do schedule Apex. So basically we're scheduling an Apex job to run. So I'm just going to call this Align.ly jobs. Call it whatever you want. And then I'll click into here and you'll see that there's a class called Align.ly LTA. LTA stands for Lead to Account Schedule. So we're going to want to run that. And the recommendation is to run it every day of the week. So we're going to select weekly, and then we're going to select every day. That'll run it every day. You might choose not to run it on weekends, or only run it like Sunday night and not do Friday or Saturday night. And then I usually just give this an end date of way out in the future and the preferred start time. So we'll say 2 a.m. Let's go ahead and hit save. So that's, as far as scheduling, that's all you need to do. So now what'll happen is at 2 a.m. every night, you'll update all your email domains. So what that means is as new accounts are added into Salesforce and contacts are added to those accounts, new email domains will get summarized up. And then we'll go through all of your leads and attempt to match any lead in your database to those new accounts. So what's great about this is over time, your lead side of your database just slowly gets cleaned up. And that the goal is to get a higher and higher percentage of your leads matched to legitimate accounts. Okay, so let's go talk about a little more detail around the strategy for lead routing and lead assignment rules. So I'm going to go over to setup, and I'm going to go look at my lead assignment rules. There's a lot of windows open here. Let me just close a few of these. So let's go to lead assignment rules. And I just have one set up. This is just a demo account, so I just have one rule right now. It basically says if it's equal to the United States, route it to me. You're going to have probably a lot of rules here. And the question is, how does this integrate with the existing rules that you have? So it's actually real simple. What you're going to want to do is hit new. You're going to want to put sort order of number 1. So this is going to be the first rule that's going to execute. We want to use a formula. And the formula we want to use is this. I just quickly copied and pasted it. We have a help article that talks through how to do this, by the way. So what we're saying here is run this rule if matched account is not blank. And what we want to do is we actually don't want to update the owner. We want to keep it as the same user. So let me just save this. I can quickly explain. So Align.ly executes before. So Align.ly will update the matched account, and if you have the routing turned on, it will update the lead owner before your lead assignment rules run. So that's why we're putting this as the number 1. And essentially what we're saying here is if there's a matched account, just keep the lead owner as the same user, which would have been updated automatically by Align.ly Lead-to-Account. So that same user would be your account owner or whatever user lookup field you have on the account. So if there's a matched account, keep it same user. And then if there's no matched account, just execute your existing lead assignment rules. So really simple to integrate our routing with your existing lead assignment rules. It takes 2 seconds, and it's almost always going to be this exact same criteria. Real quick, I'll just talk about auto conversion. So if I go to the object manager, I'm going to go over to lead. And if you go to fields and relationships, and you go to your leads status field. This is where you set the what's that conversion status. So I've already set this up. I added a value here for auto converted, but real important, you need to make sure that it's an option that's set up for conversion. The way you do this is you just say new, give it a label. I'll just do another one here. I'll just say additional contact. Give it a label, give it an API name, and then just check off converted. Now that conversion status, so I'm not going to save this, but that conversion status would then be able to be used in the Align.ly settings. So if I go back to home here, I would just go copy and paste that value. Let's go to my custom settings. I would just copy and paste that value into the converted status field right here. So now Align.ly knows that when it auto converts a lead to an account, we can use that converted status field. So I think I've actually covered basically all the basics here. What I want to do is just go back into the slides and talk through one slide, and then we can open up to questions. So if you're interested in getting started, we can set up a personalized one-on-one demo. You already saw kind of a demo here, so it might not be a demo, it might be more of a conversation around your use cases, your unique setup, how you might do certain things, best practices, and we can talk about getting set up with an implementation. The other thing you can do is actually right now you can go to the App Exchange, install the app just like I did, either in a sandbox or production. And when you do that, you'll automatically get a 7-day free trial. So you have 7 days, play around with it, implement it. Feel free to reach out to myself or Mike with questions. And then you can actually just buy right through the App Exchange. So we try to make that as simple as possible. So if you're a Salesforce wizard and you want to just go run with it, go through our getting started documentation, set up the trial, and then buy. You actually don't even need to talk to a salesperson or one of us. So with that, I will open it up to questions. Mike, if you're still on the line, have any questions come through while I've been talking?
Yes, we do have a few questions that came in. The first one here is, question around kind of with our current customers, do people typically keep their matched leads as leads, or do they like to convert them over to contacts?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's really going to depend on some of your internal processes and use cases. What we typically recommend is keep things as leads or match leads to accounts first, and get comfortable with that process. And then slowly over time, you can kind of figure out what is the right business process, and then you can do a hybrid approach. I talked a little bit about this earlier in the presentation, where you might decide to only convert leads that match customer accounts or leads that match partner accounts. Or we've even seen some people, if there's like any marketing engagement, they'll convert that to the account. If there's maybe a sales conversation, they'll convert that over. That way they have a clean delineation between contacts are essentially in their database are people that have had sales conversations or engaged in marketing. And then the lead side of the world is really your cold, just kind of cold database, if you will. So happy to set up a call and we can kind of discuss what makes sense for your business, but that's kind of how I think about things. Great,
makes sense. So another question here, this is around importing accounts. So if you have a CSV of target accounts with website, what's the best way to import those accounts?
Yeah, so talked a little bit about this. I probably went through it a little too quickly. If you go to accounts, I'm just going to go to Abbott here. We talked about this lock account field. So what that essentially does is it freezes the value in your email domains field. So what we recommend if you have a CSV file is if you have like website in that file, or if you have the email domain, make sure you include the @ sign, really important, and then map it to our email domains field, which is part of our managed package. And if you have multiple email domains, comma separate them with a space. And then check off or add lock account to your CSV file and set it to true. So again, what that'll do is it'll freeze the value in your email domains field. So when Align.ly runs the next time, it's not going to overwrite and clear out that email domains field on you. So that's typically how customers will do it. So pretty straightforward and really common for once customers kind of see the power of Lead-to-Account Matching, it's really common for them to actually get excited, go out there and use a third party to go find the total addressable market, import all those accounts, and start to match, a very high percentage of their leads in their database to their accounts.
Okay, great. Next question is related to lead routing. So just a question on, how does Align.ly work with current lead assignment rules that are already kind of set up in the database?
Yeah, so hit on that briefly earlier. Just to reiterate, if I go to my lead assignment rules, so we are going to match the lead, and we're also going to update the lead owner before your lead assignment rules run. So recommendation is to put in this rule here. And what this rule is essentially saying is if there's a matched lead, if there's a matched account, keep the updated lead owner the same. And if there's not a matched account, then you'll update your lead assignment rules, or you'll run your lead assignment rules. So really straightforward in terms of implementing it. You'll probably want to implement this as rule number 1 in your lead assignment workflow.
Fantastic. Next question is related to just the real-time lead-to-account matching. Looks like someone has looked at a few other solutions and they were a little bit slow to match. So, is this truly real-time matching with Align.ly?
Yeah, so you saw me do the example earlier. It happened pretty much instantaneously. Obviously, as a demo account, you're probably thinking it might just be optimized with a few, small number of records. We have customers with hundreds of thousands of leads, tens of thousands of accounts, and they see very similar types of performance. So we're measuring our real-time matching in hundredths of a second, not minutes, which we've heard other solutions out there can be delayed up to 15, 20 minutes. And the kind of going back to the evaluation criteria, the big benefit of using Align.ly is we're 100% native Salesforce. So we're not calling a third-party database using API calls or anything like that. It's all happening inside your Salesforce instance. So big benefit there.
Great. And then the last 2 questions, I'm just going to combine them here. So question on, are there any limitations on scale? So number of leads and accounts, and then on the pricing, is that per user or per company?
Yeah, so pricing is per company. We don't believe in charging you per user like a lot of other apps out there. So it's $99 a month if paid month to month. We're not going to lock you into a year-long contract either. If you do decide to pay for a year, it's $9.99, so you get 2 months free. And that's also for unlimited leads and unlimited accounts. So no limitations on usage.
Fantastic. So I think that's the last question that we got. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
That's all. I just want to thank everyone for their time today. I think this was a great session, great questions. And, we'd love to see you set up a trial, or let's get on the phone and let's discuss your use cases.
Okay, great. So we hope everyone got some value out of this today. We'll be following up with you all shortly with a link to the recording, and please feel free to reach out to us directly with any questions. Thanks again. I hope everyone has a great day and stay safe out there.